from a galaxy far, far away, this is the Legacy of Star Wars podcast, brought to you by Fandom Empire. I am your host, Johnny. It is truly a pleasure to be here with you for this wondrously joyous Festivus occasion. Nope, sorry, that's the wrong show.
Start doing that show, and we're not getting off here till like 5 a.m. So, I mean, and I got work in the morning, so I don't know if that'd be a good thing. Oh, my God.
That's right, we are celebrating...
Watch along. That'd be something.
We are celebrating the holiday season and enjoying this lovely Life Day celebration as we gear up tonight to watch A New Hope along with all of you fine viewers whenever and wherever you're watching this from. Hopefully it's festively timed, or this is going to look awkward if you're watching this in like June. But all right. Of course, I'm Johnny. I'm your host tonight, and it's a joy to be here with you guys. But joining me, of course, as always, are my co-hosts and colleagues. First, Sean, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing, man. I'm doing. I just had like a half an hour cat nap, and I was pretty worried about my ability to get through this prior to that, but I'm feeling re-energized, and I don't remember the last time I watched this movie. And I also kind of want to approach this watch through with like Rogue One in mind, and everybody who's seen Andor in mind, and now that we've seen Obi-Wan in mind. I think that when you watch this movie now, and I don't think I ever got around to watching it post Kenobi coming out, and if I did, I didn't pay too close of attention to it. I'm excited to see what it feels like, because like, whether anyone wants to admit it or not, when you add the Kenobi story to it, when you add Andor to it, when you add Rogue One to it, it doesn't change the events of A New Hope, but it certainly gives you far more context into things.
Yeah, I mean, it very much changes the playing field that we have for sure, with things we've learned, since all of these additional projects have come out. Randy, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm pretty excited for this. I was actually at the gym and I looked down at my phone. Went, oh crap! I got to get home. I got to get myself ready for this. And obviously, as we can see, I decided to be a little festive. Not going Life Day festive here, but sorry Wookiees, but it is what it is. But 'tis the season, and yeah, I'm ready.
All right. So obviously, like we said, we're gonna do watch along of A New Hope. Obviously. We're using the Disney Plus version because that's the most readily available version, so nobody has to hunt to be like, oh, but I don't have the 1983 VHS version of A New Hope. That's fine, because we're watching off a universal resource, the Disney Plus airing viewing experience of A New Hope, as much as I would rather watch a 1984 VHS version before George decided to edit everything he possibly could. But I digress. I'll have those complaints throughout the course of the movie. All right, so what we give you guys a chance to load it up on whatever media you're watching. We'll just say we hope you guys enjoy it. This is the first time we've done a watch along here as this incarnation in this group. Obviously Sean and I have done this before, not with this film, but with other films in the past. So, we'll do our best. There's definitely going to be times where we're not talking because we all love the movie, and there are times where we're just going to want to let it breathe. So, we're apologizing.
I gotta be honest. I don't know how much breathing is gonna be happening tonight, fellas. And I mean, I came ready to gab during this movie. By the way, where do you guys want to start? It's a little hard because I'm on an iPad to get like to a specific point.
I'm zeroed out. I just started it, let it go a few seconds, paused it, and then hit the restart button. So
so we're clear, everybody is totally watching this on Disney Plus and not through nefarious means that we can't mention on here.
That's right, Disney Plus.
Yeah,
that's the only endorsed method we have for this watching experience. I mean, if you have the Blu-ray, watch it there, but because that is, I believe that's also, I think it's the Disney Plus version. It's the most recent Blu-rays. They haven't done any editing to it since then.
So Johnny, what's your timestamp at? So I can.
I'm zeroed out.
Okay.
Me too.
Because mine says 2:05:10 left, so that's what I'm. Because I literally
I'm
just
2:05:14.
Okay.
2:05:14.
All right, let me back it up. There we go.
All right, so we're starting out completely zeroed out.
I need a second. Sorry.
Well, I wasn't going to start yet.
Okay. Like, oh my god, I gotta get them untangled. By the way, how fucking annoying were cords with controllers? Like having to untangle them because you're too lazy, or you have to, go somewhere quickly, so you just throw them down. And somehow you think you put it down all nice and neat, and the next time you go to pick it up, it's in like friggin'
It's
10
just cords, man.
friggin' yeah. It's
That's just cords. It's universal cordage. Anything
One
as
of
a
those
cord will get
nights.
tangled up. But me, I actually spent so long on cordless. I went back to corded. I got tired of dealing with batteries, and battery charging, and having a battery die in the middle of a game. I was like, nope, no, thank you.
I hate when that happens.
I went back to cords, so I'm fully corded up.
Holy crap!
Yeah. I mean, my Xbox controller literally has to be plugged in. It's a third party, so it has to be plugged in. PS4, I just keep it plugged in. So
The battery life is horrible on those things anyway.
yeah, they're not particularly good. So I just figured. Also, with the way my setup is, I'm sitting. I have it all hooked up to my computer monitor and my computer, for
Gotcha.
streaming purposes. So everything is all within. I can touch my Xbox from where I'm sitting. I can touch my PS4 from where I'm sitting. They're all within arm's reach of where I'm literally sitting right this second. So cord doesn't.
By the way, we're doing this very casual, so like, I'm gonna make sure to mute myself while I'm eating, but you're definitely gonna catch people munching during.
Oh yes, there will be snackage sounds. There will be drinking sounds. There will be sounds, not just our voices. Like I said, there will be silence and there will be sounds. So
this is definitely meant to be more like laid back, have a good time. And you know what? I'm excited at the prospect of doing more of these too. So let's get started. I'll count us down from 3, but we go on go. So 3, 2, 1, and then we'll go on go. All right, and 3, 2, 1, go. Can I just say I miss the Fox opening, and that on future Star Wars releases they should just add it back in since Disney owns them?
Hey, you're not wrong. Let's do it.
See, I was just more thinking, why have they not redone the audio for that intro? Like everything else is like this crisp, modernized audio track.
Wait, episode 4. I thought this was the beginning. Is that the movies?
Shut up. That joke was funny in 1977.
I wasn't even thought of then. Nor do I want to think of what a young Alan was doing then. Rebel spies managed to steal secret plans to the Empire's ultimate weapon. They became Ash to do it, but they did it.
You're not wrong.
That movie makes this opening so much different. And it makes this scroll completely unnecessary.
But it wouldn't be a Star Wars movie without one.
Well, but I mean, at least they're usually informative. This one could literally be watch Rogue One. And that's it.
Okay, true. So when you first saw this, the first time you saw the Star Destroyer chasing the Tantive 4, what were your thoughts just seeing how epic the size of this ship was?
First time I ever seen this movie was on TBS Superstation, and I remember my dad arguing with my mom if I was going to be allowed to stay up and watch it. Little did he know Darth Vader would scare the piss out of me. But I remember, mind you got to remember what you're watching it on. You're not at the movie theater at the time, but
Yeah.
we had an okay sized TV, and I just thought like I was. It sounds so cliche because you hear it in like every making of or every documentary, but the detail and the fact that the ship, you see the first ship, which is big enough, the way it comes into frame, the Tantive 4. But then the Imperial Star Destroyer comes into frame, and the thing just keeps going and going and going. And I was blown away as a kid. I can only imagine, and I must have been like 4 or 5 years old. I can only imagine what 4 or 5-year-olds were thinking seeing that movie in 1977.
Yeah, I mean,
In theaters.
no, it absolutely had been a different one. For me, I was, my family was a Star Trek family. We watched The Next Generation on TV. So space was different for me, right? Like it was big, but it wasn't so vastly large compared to some of the things in Star Trek at the time. Yeah, this was around the time of the Borg cube, right? So it's like
Well, nothing compared to the Borg cube compared to much of the Federation starships. So
exactly. So it's like when you make the comparison, right? It's like, okay, it isn't really much different than the Enterprise staring off with the Borg cube, right? Like it's big, but it's more the comparative. You look at it, compare it to what we had at the time, and it's like this was 20 years ago. That music cue hits so hard.
oh yeah, no doubt. And I love the contrast with Vader because it's you immediately know he is the big bad, which is great.
Oh yeah.
I was just about to say the set design. Like people praise George Lucas, and obviously they should, but the entire team behind this movie, all the way from Ralph McQuarrie to the set designers, like say what you want about Star Trek or any sci-fi movie back then, and there was a bunch of them. That hallway sequence we just seen is not like that in those movies. The set production is not like that in those movies. And we were talking about the opening shot. The one thing Star Wars did, and they fought like hell to be able to do it too. They almost didn't do it. Was they were able to do space, but fast, not slow, fast, and nobody had really been able to do it to that point. And you mentioned Vader coming in. It's the contrast, the black on white, right? Like everything's so white. The stormtroopers, the Tantive 4, the hallways, even where the escape pods are. And Vader walks in, and it's like, yeah, like this is death at your doorstep.
And I will say that James Earl Jones did such a fantastic job with just conveying how angry Vader is in this movie, just to give you that threat level that you weren't expecting right off the bat.
We're at this current second, as I'm saying this, at 6:29. But I always found it odd that Vader physically choked that random rebel, like with his actual hand.
Right. Well, it's possible that maybe at the time they hadn't thought about the idea of like having
sure.
him suspended, with ropes or something or wires at the time for the Force joke. But maybe it was just more to have that more of a physical presence of, just of how serious he was.
I never did understand why, even if no life forms on board, this is a universe that has how many droids? Like,
there's a short story in the 40 years after A New Hope book that came out, the from a certain point of view, about the guy that decides to not fire because there's no life forms on board, and it doesn't go too well for him. So, because there's no reason not to fire, as you pointed out, like should have been common.
Dude's probably like, I'm just trying to save a buck. Yeah, whatever. You're dead.
Vader right here must be thinking, I hate my life. I have no limbs. And this fucking broad looks like Padme. Fuck you.
I never even thought of it that way, but yeah, I can see, I can only imagine what he's probably going. Damn it! Why do you have to look like her?
I've always just loved like his attempt at like the Obi-Wan wit, which obviously wasn't a thing at the time, but in retrospect, the you know you are a rebel traitor, that whole bit just was so Obi-Wan with his wit.
Yeah. Especially in this movie, right? Like he only gets 9 minutes of screen time here. A lot of it's right here at the beginning.
Yeah.
But like you talk about a useful 9 minutes. I'm lucky if I get 2. Our guy George says I was one of those kids that actually saw Star Wars in theaters in 1977. My dad took me to see the film when I was 6 years old. That's incredible,
awesome.
man. That is that's a childhood memory you hold on to. And since you said you saw it, we'll pose the question to you, George. What was it like seeing if you can remember, obviously that's a long time ago. What was it like seeing that Star Destroyer fly into the shot back in 1977?
Not gonna lie, I wish I had an R2D2 translator, just because some of the stuff he probably says in the movies that I just want to be like, oh, he did not just say that.
You got to remember too, at this point, R2 remembers everything. In terms of current canon, he remembers everything, and 3PO forgot the entire prequel trilogy. Johnny,
We know that, right? 3PO's had his mind wiped
How many times
over
now?
and over again.
probably multiple times even since then. Which has got to annoy the hell out of R2.
It's just the question of that I want to know is where was R2 going?
Obi-Wan.
How would he know where to go?
Well, if you think about it, with episode 1, he would know who Obi-Wan is and probably have a reading of his life signs or some sort of something that would actually
I
remind
mean, that's
him of
fair. I
Obi-Wan.
guess he could have scanned
And
from the...
here's where Kenobi, though, too. Kenobi comes into play now. It's where when you're writing that show, you want to write it in a way that it fits with the current canon, these existing movies. Like,
I mean, I guess that
Obi-Wan-
would make sense.
he went back to Alderaan and returned with that little droid to Leia and spent a little time there with Leia and Bail. So, like,
I guess it would make sense that Bail would know where Obi-Wan was living.
he did
So
show up right there.
Yeah, so that knowledge would be imparted on Arch. I mean, I guess, yeah, when you think about it that way, it makes sense. I gotta say, kudos to Obi-Wan. Like, watching the scene right here, kudos to them for recreating this. Because like I can just see Liam Neeson popping up in any of these, right, from that end scene.
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine what it would have been like if they put even more production value into Obi-Wan? Damn Jawas. Wonder what they look like underneath all that.
I mean, that is one of the things I've always wondered. What a Jawa actually looks like under there. Are they furry? Do they skin? Are they a weird color?
They're the Yuuzhan Vong. Confirmed. They just get sick of the galaxy's bullshit and take everybody out.
Gentlemen, meet the Grisk.
In Book of Boba Fett, didn't that one mechanic say something about them being fuzzy? Because that was like when that couple episodes where they had Din show up and she's giving him the N1 starfighter, getting that set up for him. If memory serves me correctly. So I think they could be furry underneath, but I could be wrong.
The only thing I'd say, I don't know about furries. That's a desert planet. Fur would not do well.
No, it would not. Let's give a timestamp update here, Johnny. I don't know if you have yours handy, but we are watching Star Wars Episode 4, New Hope. I'd like to think that the on-screen image would let you know that. Where are we at, Johnny?
I'm clocking us at 14, 32, 33, 34, 35.
Some people might hate me for saying this. This part here, the part from when they first land on the planet to basically when R2 takes off on Luke, is definitely the slowest part of the movie for me, and like probably the toughest watch.
I mean, you're not wrong that it's the slowest part, but obviously what we're trying to do is establish the young hero and the beginnings of his journey, and so I get that part. It just took a little time to really get ramped up, but when it got going, didn't stop.
I would hate to be the Imperials in that armor on that planet. Like,
at least its white might deflect some of that heat, but yeah, being in that armor alone is just probably killing them right now.
Can I also just say the 4K restoration of this movie is fan-fucking-tastic?
Oh yeah, they did a great job with that. Unlike some films where it's like, why did you do that? You ruined the film.
You mean like George and all of his constant edits throughout the 80s and 90s?
I'm also talking about like the original Halloween 4K restoration where it ruined all the suspense and the shadows that they used in that movie. I mean, Lucas has creative mind here. All the amount of different droids and everything that they created. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, they definitely did an interesting job, sort of, especially making all these droids unique. Like, it could have been very easy to like knock off some of the, space robots at the time,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't. They're all generally unique.
And obviously, in the Star Wars Encyclopedia, every single one of them had their own specific thing they were meant to do, and I think that's really great that they actually decided to take the time to come up with all that for them.
Okay, we all want to be Uncle Owen because getting Stealth 3PO to shut up is just something we all want to do.
You're not wrong.
Such a prick. You know, kids nowadays, if they watch them in order, like this moment, they're experiencing an emotion that we didn't get when we were first watching this movie. You're sitting here going, "Oh my god!" Like R2, he's gonna meet Luke. Like, didn't have that before. So the anticipation for the journey becomes a little bit more than when you just start from A New Hope. Not that you can, obviously, it clearly works, but that's right, Johnny. The prequels have some use. You want to read that one, Johnny? Oh, do you not have access to the?
Not easily, no.
Okay.
I'm watching in multiple tabs.
Chosen Night Wolf. That's our buddy George. Seeing the Star Destroyer come into frame was awesome and a bit scary at the time. Vader's entrance on the Tantive 4 was intimidating and scary as well. Yeah, like I said, kind of like death at your doorstep. Isn't everything?
Very true. I like how Luke still has the starship toy that Obi-Wan gave him back in Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I find it odd that of all of the ships in the universe, they go with a Lambda class. Like, I mean, I get that at the time there was only, 5 classes of ships? 6?
Oh, it was a B-wing.
No, that was definitely a Lambda class. Because it had the trifold, like the 3-point wings.
Probably earlier version of what we got with the Imperial shuttle at some point.
Well, that's the Lambda class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think R2's reaction probably was when he learned that Luke's last name was Skywalker?
I mean, he's a droid, but he is R2, so I'm sure there's a part of him knowing it. R2 is so good at connecting the dots. It's just like, oh my god. But then, when you think about where R2 is, R2 knows Padme dies, and R2 knows the kids are born.
Yep, he does, and he knows. was he in that room at the time? I mean, I'm sure they said something about Luke and Leia, so maybe.
I'm sure there's a element of it that's kind of like.
He'd also recognize the property, right? Like he'd seen.
Oh yeah, that's right, because he was there. So
yeah. I think now you basically got to interpret it as he fully knows what's going on and is trying to push these events into place, although the Force is kind of doing it itself.
I mean, we don't speak R2, so he could very easily be saying, like, that's your sister, idiot.
That would be amazing. I'm sorry. That's what someone needs to do. Let's write the book from the perspective of R2D2 and get some clarity on his thoughts.
I think that part there shows the familiarity, right? Like R2's concerned whether or not Luke likes him.
Likes him, yeah, for sure. I think they knew when they went back and did the prequels that R2 had to be tied into some of those characters.
Oh yeah.
That look of knowing right there that I never really
Yeah.
noticed before.
I was just gonna say the same thing.
Because we all know how Owen really feels about Obi-Wan. So
Mhm.
Probably a pretty good thing to be afraid of.
yeah, a little bit.
Dude commits mass genocide. Probably don't want your adopted child to follow those footsteps. I can't get over the picture quality.
And I know at some point we'll talk about it when the day finally arises where we do The Last Jedi. But I always enjoyed the contrast where Luke's journey starts with the twin sons and ends with the twin sons.
Well, at this point, we know R2 knows Obi-Wan, knows the history there, and knows Leia and the history there because he's been with her forever at this point, except for that brief interlude where she got kidnapped in Obi-Wan in Kenobi.
Yeah, he would know basically all of Leia's events for the most part between the trilogies and all the prequel trilogy. Obviously, at this point, he knows a lot less about Luke, which makes it makes sense that he would want Luke to like him.
Now, whether he knows the blood connection is a little more murky. We can't pinpoint an exact moment where he would have known, but I'd say it's safe to imagine that at some point, Owen, in part, he learned that knowledge through Owen, or not through Owen, through
Well, he was there when they were
Bail.
born. Yeah, R2 was there when they were born, so I would think that he would you just already know that connection. I suppose it's possible R2 would not have known where Obi-Wan went with Luke, but
Yeah. It's by this point put two and two together, I'm sure.
I'm sure as soon as he hears the last name sort of thing. And I know people are probably like, what the fuck are they talking about right now? But we're just trying to look at it as a whole in terms of what it is canon now.
Yeah.
Did Vader ever realize that Leia was his daughter? He knows in Jedi.
That's not to say there were certain things that just kind of stuck with him that he may have been like, this doesn't feel, this feels weird, like something feels familiar.
I mean, I think he probably figured it out here in this film at the beginning. Because I don't think we don't have any known interaction between the two prior to that point, right?
Between which two? Sorry.
Leia and Vader.
I don't think it's their first time seeing one another. It doesn't come across that way.
Well,
at all.
I mean, sort of in like that close proximity, face to face.
They've probably seen each other from a distance, and at this point, Vader's starting to become more of a public figure than he had the previous decade and a half, and is involved in Senate matters to an extent, and which a lot of that's talked about in this film. Yes, all the people that bashed Phantom Menace, there's plenty of politics in this film too.
I think this part sort of, I don't want to say sticks to my craw, but Obi-Wan would know R2 to see him.
I think it'd be more the other way around, because there's a billion R2 units that look just like him that are colored just like him too. If you watch Phantom Menace, he's not the only R2 unit that looks exactly like that with the exact same colors. Another one gets blown away. My thing is, like, this one's a little, you gotta really sort of, take it for what it is here. It doesn't blend very well with the new stories that have come since. But I also kind of, if I'm R2, I'm probably like, how the fuck is that Obi-Wan? It's been 19 years, not 50.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what type of training he went through since the end of Kenobi to now that he aged like this.
I mean, I'm more like explained it in my own mind. Their lack of knowledge and interaction. Obi-Wan is working off the assumption that he's been he's had his memory wiped, because it's safe to assume that's happened at some point.
Interesting take, Mr. Turkey Burger. You know what I have to say to that?
I don't even know how to respond to
that. So here's an interesting question for you guys. When Obi-Wan puts his hand on Luke's head, do you think he's using the Force to kind of like heal any damage? Like, because we've seen that ability in different, whether it's, the sequel trilogy or with Grogu. Do you think when he puts his hand on his head, that's what he's doing?
I don't think so. I think he's as much sort of assessing his mental state, like.
It's just interesting to think about given what we now have in terms of canon and Force abilities.
I think anything's possible at this point. Like, he is so, like, yes, he obviously can't move like he did in the Obi-Wan series or in Revenge of the Sith. And whatever training he's gone through with Qui-Gon in that time obviously takes its toll on his body. But he's also, like, far and away way more wise than he even is during Kenobi. Like, here in A New Hope, he's reached another level. I do like the Obi-Wan stuff in the certain point of view books, because they really do a good job of emphasizing that. Even think about his fight against Maul in Rebels. Like, excuse me.
Oh yeah, you can see how much he's grown just from that battle alone.
Yeah, he beats him before there's ever a blow a shot thrown. So I think he's kind of at that point. But does that mean he healed him there or anything? I don't know, but like he's more Yoda-esque at this point.
I will give Lucasfilm credit for their how they touched up the lightsaber, because I remember the back in the day. I mean, it was cool looking, but you could tell that it was that there were some issues there with the special effects. So I really like what they did here with the restoration and touch ups.
Yes, it's that thing, that lady who was chasing you wielding a lightsaber. The scene further out uses. That one was hard in Kenobi for me to sit there and go, we're supposed to believe she got that close and he still knew nothing.
I don't know. I can buy Oblivious Luke.
I will say, with whether it's the prequels or even Clone Wars and the Obi-Wan series, I like how they kept in that little I would say almost like a tick where Obi-Wan's playing with his mustache. I like how they left that in for continuity purposes.
Obi-Wan's thinking to himself right now, you chicken shit. Your dad won a pod race when he was 9. Get off your ass. What a shot.
Absolutely. So in this shot, do you notice how there is a empty seat? Because obviously we got one for Tarkin, but there's another empty seat there, and that's supposed to be Krennic's, because he was a part of this little.
That would make sense.
And I think that's one of the reasons
Laren's there.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the things I liked about Rogue One. They tried to fill in little, missing pieces here that were kind of like plot holes that in Star Wars itself, in the New Hope itself. So, it was just really cool that they really took the care to think about these things when making that movie.
I hope that fuck was on the Death Star when it blew up.
I've always found like the older generations sort of denials of the Force to be like, you lived through it. Like, you lived through the Clone Wars, pal. What are you?
I know.
The sound design of the
The Force choke.
yeah is just so fucking good, and like that's what made Vader a badass back then, right? He just stops in the middle of the meeting to choke a guy out. I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Well, you know, Vader hated the fact that basically he had to answer to Tarkin. He hated having to do
Oh,
that.
absolutely.
He's smoking something.
Blast point's too accurate.
I was gonna say, I find that to be the most ridiculous line of this series. Like, that might have been true when the. I mean, I guess unless you sort of work off the principle that Obi-Wan still assumes that the troopers are clones.
No, he knows.
He knows?
Kenobi.
Yeah, I guess he did ran into the random one slumming it in the streets.
Mm-hmm. Thinking about being a little kid in the theater, seeing this for the first time and seeing the charred skeletons.
That is a little excessive.
Extra crispy.
No, that's just straight burned. That's charcoal.
Always made me wonder if, I mean, I think it's been debunked by now, but it always made me wonder, like after watching the original trilogy, when Vader talked to Fett about no disintegrations, if that really was what was going on. But we all know that that's been since, changed. That's not the thing, but still, always made me wonder.
And this is the part that seals the deal for Leia hating Vader forever. Mass genocide, was probably enough, but by the way, if anybody hasn't read Star Wars Bloodlines, new canon novel happens a few years before The Force Awakens, follows Leia, Han's in it as well. It's very political based, but they dive into that and how the galaxy finds out she was Anakin Skywalker's daughter, and that Anakin Skywalker was in fact Darth Vader. It's a fantastic book. Definitely recommend anybody either read it or listen to it. Maybe not exactly like your father. If Kenobi just pushes him off the cliff there, he can just go home and live with the rest of his days.
I'm too old for this shit. Pulp. Now, this is one of those changes I didn't mind so much when they just gave you an idea of really what Mos Eisley was supposed to be. But
It was
I
neat
know
after I guess it came up before Phantom Menace, but this is one of the better ones in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't change the story. Like, that's the difference.
Not gonna lie, as a kid, after seeing this scene, I tried to see if I could do the Jedi mind trick many times.
Anyone who says they didn't is just straight lying.
Exactly. You will give me those cookies. No, I won't. Damn it.
There was a pod racer in that last shot. I feel like that was a 2011 edition.
Yeah, it definitely was. I remember when they re-released this in the theaters in the 90s. One of my friends and I, when we were in college, actually went to see it to see what they added to it, and admittedly, was a bit on the drunk side, but still was a lot of fun to just see it on the big screen with the new additions to it and the touch-ups.
I will be back, boys. I'm taking my first bathroom break.
I love the diversity of the cantina.
I do too. I think the makeup department did a great job just creating so many different aliens.
Oh yeah, I mean you can definitely see sort of the European influence in the costuming through the BBC.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting to think about, the whole idea of, like, oh, we don't serve the kind in here, but when these are people that survived the Clone Wars, so they've had the issues with droids before. So you got to figure they probably are definitely not friendly when it comes to droids because of that alone.
Yeah, those two have had an awful month.
Back before when they said lightsabers cauterize wounds.
Well, I mean, let's just assume that Obi-Wan's is out of focus.
Yeah, maybe. But I'm sorry if you're going to be that weak ass bitch going, I wanted on 12 systems for blah blah blah. It's usually the real true badasses that don't say shit. They just do stuff.
You just sit there, shake your head at you like, mm-hmm, sure you are, pal. I guess now knowing that Obi-Wan would have been in hiding
Yeah,
when that
for
happened,
sure.
like you can see sort of that look of like, that's not possible on his face.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. And then you got to figure, at least with Solo, they explain the idea of the whole under 12 parsecs. So
Yeah. That's one of those ones where it's like, George didn't consult scientists when he wrote the script.
yeah, exactly.
He just like looked up space terms. Be like, ooh, parsecs. That sounds good. I like that one. It's like, do you think Han sent a 15,000 credit bill to the rebels?
Well, I mean, you did see him with a very big fat stack of credits once they got to Yavin and he was getting ready to take off. So I'm going to assume that he got more than that.
True.
Now, whether he actually went and paid off Jabba, that, obviously we found that out later that he clearly did not.
Of all of the edits that George ever made, this is by far the worst.
There was no reason for it. Let's be honest. Han shot first. End of discussion. Instead of trying to edit it.
It establishes his whole character.
Exactly.
Like,
he's a scoundrel. He's a smuggler.
Just because you look back with hindsight and be like, oh, we need to make Han into a good guy, an unquestionable good guy. No, you don't.
You sometimes for these sorts of things, and we saw this in Rogue One, sometimes you need that scoundrel, that scumbag to just pull the trigger when it's needed.
Exactly.
Andor did it, so I mean, why not? The little edit with the head jerking to the side, whatever.
Yeah, like it's ridiculous. Like,
it's a little bit more fluent than when they first did it, because like when they first did that edit, oh wow, it was horrible. But now it's a little smoother now, so it's not as bad.
And the way Han just walks out like that. Like, if somebody takes a shot at you, you're not going to just walk out like that.
Thinking back to when this was filmed, how much fun do you think Peter Cushing had playing the role of the villain when he'd always been the good guy in the Hammer films?
Well, I mean, they got to choose, right? Him and Peter?
I mean, usually
they were both hired for their size, and then they were kind of, okay, there's two choices. You can be the good guy or the bad guy.
Still, I think he had to have a lot of fun with it just because, you know, playing Van Helsing all those times just...
Oh, I'm sorry. You said Peter Cushing.
Yeah.
I think you said Peter Mayhew. That... Yeah, okay.
Can you imagine Peter Mayhew in the Vader getup versus David Prowse?
I don't think it would really be that different.
Well, Chewie is definitely a lot taller than Vader, so that's what. Because I think Peter Mayhew was 7 foot, and then David Prowse is I think 6'5". This scene was cool when they added it, but also I'm trying to figure, was it necessary to add Jabba to give us, you know, an idea of who he was, even though, and also to help kind of establish Boba Fett in the first movie rather than seeing him in Empire. But I know they filmed this with somebody else, and that this was just an edit.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those instances where it looks ridiculously phony.
Well, back in '97, can you imagine what it was with that CG versus how they've cleaned it up here?
Oh, for sure. But like now, it's even worse. Like because at least back then, right, you had lower quality on your being able to see it, right? So it didn't look as stark.
Mm-hmm. Then I think I can't remember if it was 97 or the next edit after that is when they add. I think when the Blu-rays came out, they added Boba Fett to it. I think. But clearly, they decided to use the model they used here for Phantom Menace, and then of course, I'll give Book of Boba Fett credit with the Hutts. They did a lot better with that.
I missed a lot. Missed the best edit that George did. And no, that was terrible. I agree with everything you guys were saying on it. There's just no reason for it. Jabba here, where we see Boba Fett, that stuff was added in '97. Well, sort of. Boba Fett and Jabba were actually filmed back when they were filming the movie, but Jabba was a big fat guy with like furry jacket and
It was like a furry vest and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Fett's in all 3 original trilogy movies. Remember that for trivia, people. You blink and you'll miss it. That's another one. Our passengers must be hotter than I thought. Where like it just really doesn't fit with the prequel trilogy because Kenobi literally lights up his lightsaber in the cantina, which is a big no-no. I think also connecting it all together, looking at it as a complete picture. Like Kenobi's lighting his lightsaber at that moment. He knows he's not going home. He knows this is it. He not necessarily he's going to die soon, but he's back in the game more or less.
One final adventure.
The Falcons running pretty good in A New Hope.
Oh, I remember
In
the first
between
edit.
maintenance cycles.
I remember the first edits when it was just it was as fast as they could make it at the time, but it was definitely noticeably slower. Now this is the first time with a full power demonstration because in Rogue One it was like it wasn't even full power on Jeddah. And then of course Scarif again. So yeah, between both planets that I think was maybe half power.
It explains why it just goes sort of. It's they've done it in a way so that when Alderaan just goes boom, it makes some sense.
Yeah.
you think Vader is bad, and then you realize Tarkin's a bigger asshole than he is.
I like this because Kenobi would feel it. Hell, Yoda would feel it.
Well, and also you got to figure now that we've had, the prequels and Obi-Wan, there's people on that planet he cares about. So feeling their life force just be blinked out of existence also has to weigh on him.
Oh, I mean, it's also like a mass extinction event, right?
It is kind of cool that Han got to spend some time with Obi-Wan. I'm pretty sure they couldn't stand one another, but yeah.
There almost had, I mean, when you think about it, there has to be some things about Han that reminded him of Anakin, like how Anakin could just kind of go off and be kind of like this, almost like a space cowboy, like kind of what Han is, but just being reckless and going and doing stuff that just because, hey, I can do it. 'Cause that's what Han does. Han was like, yep, let me just charge into battle.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't his doing, but I mean, I'm positive it wasn't his doing, but his kid ends up getting named after him. So,
Mm-hmm. But I would think Leia may have had a bigger role in that, though, too.
definitely, probably 100%.
As we see in the prequels, Luke's getting the youngling training right now.
In his experience, there's no such thing as luck. You know how many times Obi-Wan gets lucky in the prequels, let alone the Clone Wars?
Yeah, quite a bit.
The end of the Grievous fight, anybody?
What are you talking about? That's not luck. That's pure skill.
I like how Obi-Wan's just doing everything he can to be like, let's not follow him. And they're just like, nope, we're going to destroy him.
And they get away, and Obi-Wan lives happily ever after. No,
I find it odd that Han doesn't know about the Death Star.
nobody does. It's a super hidden secret.
At this point, they've already used it twice.
In like the span of a week.
Okay, but we've already seen survivors from one of those attacks make it to Tosche Station.
They called oh man. Not Alderaan, but Scarif. There was an excuse for Scarif. I forget what it was, but like something malfunctioned, and that's what the public terminology was for it. It was never connected to the Death Star, even though us, the audience, know that. Man, I know I said it at the beginning of the movie, but like the set designers do not get enough credit for what they did for this movie. This is 1976, people.
Yeah, pretty much everything built from the ground up. Yeah, I think they did use primitive forms of like blue screen and stuff, but not like it is not like the green screen is now.
This set here is the space part, I believe, is blue, but everything else you see is physically there. That was a big one that they did at, I don't know if it was Leavesden Studios or somewhere else at that time.
A presence I have not felt since he whooped my ass all those years ago and left me to die. Left me.
He's running away. Coward. He's like, oh, not this shit again.
This is a present I haven't felt since the last time he got away from me.
He's left me for dead twice in a row, basically, unless you count the fight halfway through Kenobi, which wasn't much of a fight. Felt more like a horror movie scene.
I mean, how deep are those compartments if Chewie's able to get down in there?
Kenobi gets his own.
Yeah, but that's the weird part. Like, shouldn't Chewie be the one with his own compartment?
So even at this point right here, they know they're letting them escape. They're putting the tracking on the ship right there.
Well, and Vader's not dumb. He knows Obi-Wan's there. He's just like, okay, I see what's going on here.
He knows that no matter what he plans for, something different is going to happen. So, like, okay, I'm just going to assume that ship's getting away.
He's just like, I stopped searching for you, and now you show up at my fucking front door. Leave me the fuck alone. Harrison Ford, such a fucking movie star.
If there's one character who all of the improved visuals has not been kind to, over the last 50 years, it's 3PO.
I mean, he does look like he just spent some time on Tatooine.
He got beat the shit on Tatooine.
He looks like he spent a decade in the desert, not 6 hours. It bugs me that he says it Alderaan.
So that line, our my destiny lies on a different path. I was like, huh. I remember hearing that not too long ago from somebody else.
Ben is a great man. I've known him for a week, longer than I've known you.
No, he knows him. He's run into him.
I'd say more he knows of him.
There's a comic line now that's canon where it's basically just a little bit more of Kenobi, but there's some interactions between the two. But none is obviously head on as what we get at the beginning of A New Hope. What a classic line.
I like how it's like instantaneous. She's rich, and it's like, huh? You've got my attention. It's like liquid instead of liquid courage, it's monetary courage. I remember in the Family Guy episode when Chewbacca yells at him, and the little droid was like, "Oh shit!" and just takes off running.
Cell block 1138.
Don't they usually fit that in like every Star Wars film, like 1138 somewhere?
I'm not sure.
Funny how for the heroes, the blasters seem to work just fine, but when it comes to stormtroopers, it's like they're cross-eyed when they fire. Hey, we're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you? Let's just blast it. Blasting everything just makes it better.
Boing.
It's like, dude, that's your sister. But of course, when we were kids and the first time watching this, you're just kind of like, oh, wow, this is great. Little did you know.
It's the first time Vader kind of speaks at Tarkin like, no, it's going to be this way.
He's like, bitch, I got shit to do.
I'll say this, even though the movie slows down once we hit Tatooine to begin with, the second you leave Tatooine,
Oh yeah.
you're on the gas the rest of the way.
That's because there's really nothing interesting on Tatooine ever.
Yeah, I'm
If we
not the
could
biggest Tatooine fan. I know a lot of people are because of the nostalgia, but I'm like, there's a bunch of other places I'd rather see. Give me
Hoth,
Narsh in live action, damn it.
not Hoth was more interesting than Tatooine.
Stuff actually happened on Hoth.
It was Hoth here last night.
That bad, huh?
Lost power multiple times. Buses were canceled. Roads were frozen over. It was bad.
We got a light dusting here.
How dare you? Look at the size of that thing.
I'm just curious to know, is this thing like a don't flush an alligator down a toilet story?
I don't know, because I remember like in Dark Forces when you're going through the sewers, it was riddled with those things. So I don't know if it's something that's basically found in the sewers, like bottom feeders or what.
Yeah, but this is a space station.
True. Where did you get that Dianoga from? Flush it down the toilet. Told you not to take interstellar creatures onto the space station.
How did you get that through customs?
Right? Look, I found an egg. What does it hatch into? I don't know.
I feel like that should have been like a cutaway in the Family Guy special. Like
I know.
literally just that, somebody flushing it down the toilet.
That would have been great.
Maybe I should tweet that at Seth MacFarlane.
That'd be hilarious. He goes back and does the George Lucas edit on those episodes.
If he does, I'm gonna get a big check and a writing credit.
.3PO here is hilarious.
Donk. I love how they always point that out now. The stormtrooper smashes his head on the door as it's going up.
I love the old, hey, look over there.
They're just fortunate enough. There's so many droids on that ship, that on the battle station, that it's just like, yeah, we're just normal here. Everything's fine. I mean, how many protocol droids and astromechs do they probably have on the Death Star?
Yeah.
You watch the pole start folding like a pretzel, and you just kind of go, "Oh no."
I'm sure R2 didn't just say use the comlink. He's like, use the comlink, dumbass. Not gonna lie, seeing that scene as a kid, my anxiety was through the roof.
Thinking this scene through, I now ask myself, how is the Dianoga that big? Because, like, logically, it shouldn't survive one crushing cycle.
Maybe it just got picked up. I mean, Alderaan did just get blown up.
Okay, but then again, that answers the question. How did something that big get introduced to the trash compactor?
Well, and if you think about it, before the thing started doing its compacting, it sounded like a door was open and closed. So maybe the Dianoga was just escaped through the little hatch, and then that's why you didn't see any
Smooch?
nasty fluids coming out of everywhere because of the thing getting crushed. So maybe the Imperials do use it. Maybe it's that doesn't make sense. Now I have to go look this thing up because I was like, damn it. Thanks. I always thought the sounds they used for this were so cool. Turning off the tractor beam.
My question is, how does nobody on the bridge notice that the tractor beam's been powered down? Like, immediately?
Well, this entire time, Vader's looking for Obi-Wan, so you have to assume at this point he's told them, "Hey, let him do it. Let him think they've escaped." Well, to answer your question, maybe they realize something's going on here, and now they're coming to guard it. I don't know.
I guess.
Because they're talking about it
Nobody's
being a
gonna
drill.
listen to us at this point.
Now, if that was Anakin and not Obi-Wan, he would have just pulled them off into the reactor and be like, "Oh, there you go. Peace, guys."
Depends on where in the story it is, I guess.
I would say that was one of the better edits too, adding like a whole battalion as he's going that to give him the real reason to go, "Oh shit, I gotta
It makes
run."
their retreating that much more normal, right? Like,
Yeah.
sure, we outnumber you like 8
The
to
OG
1,
cut, there's like
but
5 or 6 troops standing there.
God, Luke's got the aim of a stormtrooper.
Yes, he does. His utility belt just happens to come with a grappling hook accessory.
Leia's shooting face is so ridiculous.
It's probably how she ended up hitting the guy. She closed her eyes and prayed in the force, like, let's just hope I hit this guy.
In fairness, the utility belt looks like it's Batman's from the 60s show painted white.
It probably was. It just so happened to come with the grappling hook.
Around.
Now, do you think with what we've learned over the years and all they've added, do you think instead of saying Darth, he would have said Vader? If they'd had
Um, not if we're going off of everything they've added simply because he calls him Darth at the end of Kenobi.
True. Okay. Have you guys seen the fan edit of this battle that someone did?
Yes, a very high quality one.
Yep.
Damn good.
Definitely would have made more sense, but obviously you're going with what you have at the time,
Yeah.
and it's not like you can do very many cuts from from Obi-Wan here to have like a stunt man doing all types of crazy stuff. So, but it's possible at the time that Lucas may have just not had an idea of what he really wanted lightsaber duels to be, too.
Very much so.
His poking at the robe. His poking at the robe makes so much more sense when you see other Jedi die, knowing the body shouldn't just disappear.
Right.
In a certain point of view, basically it said as soon as the lightsaber starts to go through Obi-Wan's, I think they call it like his upper arm area, he does the technique to become a Force ghost. So like, I know because of back in 77 it's the limitations, but in current canon, like Vader never even slices all the way through. Obi-Wan just kind of, Luke isn't necessarily willing at the end of the Last Jedi, but it's pretty close to it. Like he knows what he's doing.
Right.
I will say, I think the one thing that Obi-Wan didn't help, that Kenobi didn't help with this, is because of his relationship with Leia, the fact that she didn't really react to seeing Obi-Wan being taken, basically cut down. I think it's the only thing that I would say was a small detractor, but not that it detracts from the scene at all, but like just the weight of it should have been. I feel like she should have had some sort of emotional attachment there too, rather than just saying it's too late, let's go.
For sure. I mean, obviously, we're living in a day and age where this was made 40 plus years earlier, but even when Luke frees her from the prison. Like there's a noticeable excitement that it's Ben Kenobi that's there for her. But for whatever reason, they chose to go that way with the Kenobi death.
As a kid, this was one of my favorite scenes watching this.
I think it's more like Leia's practicality, right? Because logically, she should still be grief-stricken and mourning for the loss of her planet.
She's probably numb from it still, so that would make
Yeah.
sense. But yeah, after this, I was like, man, that'd be so much fun to be sitting in a seat like that turns and spins around as you're firing at things. That'd be so amazing to do.
Why that's not an arcade experience in 2023 is beyond me.
So I remember back in the mid 80s, one of the arcade, it wasn't a Star Wars game, but they did have like a space shooter where the seat did move a little bit as you were flying around, firing at stuff. But
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they have full gyroscopic responses in games. I have for a long time.
A lot. Probably a lot.
Quit mooning after your sister.
It's the brother getting in the way talk that they don't even know they're having. Sorry, I don't approve of you dating my sister. Bale should have stayed on Yavin.
I know, right? Damn, she's just like, yeah, well, sorry, no time for sadness. We just gotta prepare ourselves. It's like, man, I get you're numb at the moment, but still, take a moment. But I guess it's probably the politician in her when you think about it. It's just the whole got to have that straight face to just lead the people.
Princess Leia. Oh,
The work poor Galen must have put into making this little animatic.
I know, right?
the fact nobody at any point in construction noticed a giant hole that goes all the way through to the heart of the ship.
I liked in the family episode where they were like, whoa, 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 that's a bit of a big flaw. Well, we could just board it up or something.
Get some of Kramer's yellow caution tape.
Yeah, I think that's definitely way more than 17,000 credits. So the question is, instead of paying off Jabba, what did Han blow those credits on? That's what I'm wondering.
The next maintenance cycle for the Falcon. Too many people insulted her.
Maybe. Considering it was she was in shambles on Hoth. I wonder if at some point Chewie has to talk with him. You know the Force is real, right? I've seen Jedi before.
He'll do better than you two.
Facts. R2's are like, if you only knew what I knew. I've been through so much more.
Everybody's about to die, and 3PO is worried about his own entertainment.
So, like it's somehow out of character for 3PO.
Well, if you're watching this, watch along with us, or if you're watching after the fact, hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. There's been definitely lots of discussion and lots of sitting back and just having a good time. I'm enjoying myself. And yeah, click the like button, comment down below, share your thoughts there, subscribe, slash that notification bell to keep up to date with everything we got going on in the channel, including a little live stream tomorrow night that the man that's to my left, no, my right, my left. I'm getting my lefts and rights confused. Came up with that is how can AEW improve in 2024? And I think he means in a booking sense, booking around injuries, as well as just as a product as its whole. So tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern, we're going to discuss that and a few other things. That shot there is fucking badass.
Yeah, when they added that in '97, it was amazing. Some of the edits they did were really, really added to the film. Didn't take away from the story and just added to the film. And then some of the stuff you're just kind of going, like this right here, getting to see them, open up and just, get ready to attack. That was great.
That's what she said. Oh, man. For my money, still the best space battle in Star Wars.
How can it not be?
A lot of it's the camera work, too.
Mm-hmm. As a kid, this is kind of really what fully hooked me. At the end, I was like, "Yep, I can't wait to see the next one." But this whole Death Star trench run and things like that was just, I couldn't wait. I just couldn't wait to see it again. But then, of course, obviously, we delved more into the Force and the Jedi and things like that, which I'm not going to complain about, but it just didn't get as exciting as this when it comes to a space battle. Though Revenge of the Sith space battle was pretty fun, not going to lie.
Hell of a way to begin the movie.
Oh, yeah. And to show off just what type of pilot Anakin really was.
He's not all right. Stop the damn match.
Yeah, Luke, you're hearing the voice of a dead man, and your first thought is, "Oh, my comms aren't working."
You can tell the intensity is picking up.
Did either of you guys play Star Wars Squadrons?
No.
I have not.
So the space battles in that they're really good, but for the full effect, playing it in VR, because when you actually move your head and look around, you see yourself in the cockpit. You can see ships when you're looking up and around and down below. It's so engrossing. It's a lot of fun, and it's a pretty neat story because you get to play it from both sides. But definitely one of the better flight simulators in terms of just overall just gameplay. Even if you don't have VR, it's worth trying out.
Yeah, I heard positive reviews of that on VR. I definitely don't have it, but I want to try it at some point. But I can't see myself having the money to spend just on VR for that. Man, this squad going down there is the team that's setting up for the 30-yard field goal to win the game, to win the Super Bowl, and they hit the post.
The doink heard round the world. But I mean, looking at like the scene itself and seeing just how fast the trench is flying by them, it's almost hard to not feel like that, just that claustrophobic type feeling of being near the walls.
Yep. Little Annie's going to work. Oh, this was the wrong squad. It's the next one.
Famous last words.
I think you underestimate their chances.
Wonder if that guy was smart enough to get to a ship.
You never know. He might have been just like, I'm out. Peace.
I was roommates with Galen. Everyone's like, nobody's talking. Yeah, it's because the trench run is on.
I mean, that line alone gives you an idea of just how much Luke used the Force when he was flying around in his T-16. But Anakin was the same way with his pod racer, so
John Williams score. Wonderful job building the suspense. We are, Travis. Hope you're well too, buddy. This is our last episode until sometime in the first week of the new year. So happy holidays, man, and appreciate the support.
I love the absolute setup here where it's just like getting down to like that final second where the will he or won't he, won't he, especially when you're first watching this. And then out of nowhere, considering how many fighters they started with, and only 3 are coming back.
You got beat by Obi-Wan again. Anakin really took out his frustration on R2.
Yeah.
I like the look on Han's face, like, yeah, whatever. Another great iconic musical score here by John Williams.
It's amazing.
R2s are like, what the hell? Where's mine? It's bad enough the Wookiee doesn't get one too, but R2's like, I'm the one who got shot. Come on now, where's mine?
Gary Kurtz. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, written, directed by George Lucas, produced by Gary Kurtz. Obviously, one of those films that has stood the test of time and will continue to do so moving forward, especially, you know, when you rejuvenate it every other year or so, or make changes every other year. That's fun, guys. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the laid back, relaxing watch. It was fun. I don't know. It was I enjoyed it. How'd you guys feel?
Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it.
It's nice. It's nice to look back, and especially now with everything that's come out, and just kind of sit there and watch it and be like, okay, now that we have all this new information, everything that's canon, and it gives you a new perspective on a classic film, and helps fill in some holes and gives you ideas of like character motivations, because they've done a really good job of making sure that they tie in these little nuances here and there with all the stuff they've given us, to so that makes it hold up with the movies. And I can't wait to I just can't wait to do the next one. I mean, I'm assuming we're going to do Empire Strikes Back next, so
Yeah, we'll do Empire sometime in January. We'll talk during our little break here. Who knows? It might be the first episode back. We'll see. We'll see how the news is going, and I know we have a couple of trivia matches that we need to get to as well. It's just going to depend on scheduling, and we all have the holidays here, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm looking. I mean, again, I think Empire is the greatest film ever made, so it doesn't take much convincing to make me watch that film.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the best ever made. I mean, like I said last week, you know, when we were doing our rankings, it's a top 5 film of all time, hands down. A top 3 film. When you put it in there is quibbling.
Travis says a neat, but
Assuming it's bit of symmetry.
Yeah, go ahead. You can read it. I didn't know if
The
you.
bit of symmetry here is the trilogy begins with Luke needing Han to escape Tatooine, and it ends with Han needing Luke to escape Tatooine.
Yeah, I mean, we could get into a whole conversation about how we were robbed of a reunion. Still feel like that's one of the things the sequel trilogy gets wrong. No Han and Luke. I could deal with us not getting all 3 of them together at once, but Han and Luke should have at least gotten a scene together or something. So,
for sure.
I will go on the record of saying we have not seen the last Han and Luke live action Star Wars scene, though. I think there's more to come still.
I'm all for it. I would love to see something new that kind of gives us an idea of some of the adventures they may have had that we don't know about.
Yeah, it's an interesting. You know, their relationship is so central to Star Wars, yet at the end of the day, in canon, we know very little of it.
I'll leave you with this little nugget, and Johnny can take us home. For those of you that don't know, the long-running Supernatural series that ran for 15 seasons, Sam and Dean are actually based off of Han and Luke. So fun little Supernatural Star Wars connection there, which I really, really dig. Clearly, they switched up the height, though. Luke got Dean's height, and Han got
Chewie's height?
yeah, Moose.
I'd say Han got Chewie's height, and Luke. Never mind. I got that back. Yeah, my brain farted.
Well, I mean, we've been on here a couple hours, so
yeah.
Again, just happy holidays to everybody out there. We'll have more content coming. And just stay tuned to the channel. We're excited about what we have to bring to each and all of you out there. Johnny, take us home, man.
All right, like I say, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you had as much fun as we did, and if you did have any sense of enjoyment, don't forget to click the like button, give us the thumbs up, Give us a like, subscribe, / notification bell so you can see all of the content here on the channel, including our Wednesday night offering, like the Geek Side at 10 p.m. and on Monday nights, tonight in Haddonfield, and any other pop-up content throughout the week. And if you want to support the channel at an additional level, head over to patreon.com/fandomempire and become a patron and get Patreon exclusive content. So, for all of us here at the Legacy of Star Wars podcast, brought to you by Fandom Empire, for Sean, Randy, I'm Johnny. I hope you guys have a happy Life Day. And we'll see you in the new year. So long. And may the Force.
May the Force be what? You broke out. I'm assuming with you. Okay. You sure it's not serve you?
I am positive.
I don't know. I think it might be serve you.
No. May the Force be with you. We'll see you in the new year.
Well, that worked well. We're still live.
Well, that's awkward.
A little bit.
You can have take two at this if you'd like, man. I don't think you got your location in there.
Oh, I did not, because I couldn't think of a, appropriate one for this one. I think I've used all of the episode 4-ish ones. Oops.
I mean, happy Life Day from Kashyyyk, you know? I mean, damn.
Yes. Yes, this is true. Good night. Happy holidays.
For real this time.
Yes.
Happy holidays, everybody.
That guy comes down your chimney or something and, you don't recognize it or whatever, just get your lightsaber, handle business. Johnny just gave me I'm going to kill Santa look.
I did not. No, that's you.
Good night, everybody.